Hi, I'm Joe. Thank you for watching this video. This video is from a series we're calling Stories from the Mouth of the Columbia River. We hope you enjoy this video and will like and subscribe.
My name is Aaron Webster. I work for Washington State Parks here at Cape Disappointment State Park, where I manage the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center. The Columbia River is about 1,200 miles long, and it drains parts of 7 states and 2 Canadian provinces. The average flow today is equal to about 1 million fire hoses. The river mouth used to be about 5 miles wide. It was relatively shallow, and the mouth was a maze of shifting sandbars. Long before the jetties were conceived, the Chinook Indians crossed the Columbia River bar in canoes designed specifically for these treacherous waters. But after 1792, larger vessels owned by Europeans and Americans became frequent visitors. These vessels were not well suited to the crossing and often met their end here. Rather than redesigning the ships, the Army Corps of Engineers took a different tack. They designed jetties to change the conditions to make the bar suitable for the ships of the day. By the mid-1800s, the river entrance was marked by a lighthouse, and charts were available, but the deep channel was not deep enough, and it moved from season to season. In order to deepen and stabilize the channel, the Army Corps needed to speed up the river at the mouth. They did this by making the river narrower. Kind of like putting your thumb over the end of a garden hose, the jetties sped up the river, allowing it to flush out much of the sand. Toward the late 1800s, the Army Corps of Engineers made plans to deepen and stabilize the channel with a massive jetty building project. It would later become a system of 3 jetties that were one of the largest public works projects ever undertaken by Americans. Originally, they thought 1 jetty would be enough. It would be about 4 miles long on the south side of the river, and it would cost $3.7 million. While initially hailed as a success, it later became clear that more work was needed. The South Jetty was extended and a North Jetty built, costing another $3.7 million. Later, in the 1930s, a 3rd jetty was added. This 3rd jetty is called A Jetty, and the A Jetty does 2 things. Number 1, it protects the Ilwaco Channel from ocean waves and sediments, and number 2, it protects the tip of the North Jetty by pushing the current ever so slightly to the south. In all, these jetties total almost 10 miles and took 54 years to build. When completed, they were the largest jetties on Earth. To build the jetties, they constructed railroad trestles out into the ocean. The lowest layer of the jetties was made of huge bundles of sticks laid out 40 feet wide along the base of the trestle. These would help slow erosion during construction. Then, rocks were barged in from quarries upriver and loaded onto trains. These trains went out over the water on the trestles and dumped the rocks into the deep blue sea. Put the train in reverse, get some more rocks, and repeat for about 50 years. Like an iceberg, the underwater parts of the jetties are much bigger than what we see above water. The top of the South Jetty is about 60 feet wide, while the bottom of the jetty is more than 300 feet. Some parts of the jetty are as tall as a 7-story building, but only about 25 feet of that is above the waterline. You can see that the tip of the South Jetty is badly eroded. There's a break in the jetty, and another half mile appears to be missing from the end. But remember, it's the underwater parts of the jetty that do the work. And the jetty is still mostly intact underwater, so it's still effective even though we can't see it. In modern times, shipwrecks are almost unheard of. Advances in ship design, navigational aids, bar pilots, and improved weather forecasts all help, but more than anything, ships are kept safe by these 100-year-old walls of rock. From up here, the rocks look small, but almost half of the rocks are 10 tons or more, about the weight of a semi-truck. The largest stones used in the recent repair project are about 3 times that size. Today, contractors working for the Army Corps of Engineers are completing one of the most ambitious repair projects ever undertaken on the South Jetty. They're adding rocks larger than any that have ever been used here, fortifying the jetty against the constant wave action and currents. Starting in the early 1800s, there was quite a bit of ship traffic entering and leaving the mouth of the Columbia. These ship captains encountered a constantly shifting maze of sandbars. From year to year, it was unclear whether or not they should bear more to the north or perhaps to the south. And the jetties are largely here to solve the problem of the shifting sands. So, where does the sand come from? The entire Columbia River is like a sand factory or a conveyor belt of sand by the time it reaches the mouth. Thousands and thousands of tons of sand come down the Columbia, and as they enter the ocean, the river current slows down, causing a lot of this sand to drop out and form sandbars. Sand that makes it to the Pacific is caught up in a current called the longshore drift. This current is caused by waves hitting the beach at an angle, and in our area, it pushes sand north. This longshore drift doesn't allow a delta to form at the mouth of the Columbia, and instead, its sediments are stretched out as a long peninsula that we call the Long Beach Peninsula. You would think that the Columbia River always flows out to sea, but that's actually not the case here. About twice a day, when high tide comes, ocean water pushes up the river, reversing its flow for about 15 miles. The lower river becomes very ocean-like and salty, and then the tide actually acts almost like a dam. It doesn't let the river water flow out, so during high tide, the river backs up. All the way to Portland, it gets deeper because the water cannot get past this hydrologic dam. But at low tide, things change fast. The hydrologic dam is eliminated, and all that water from here to Portland has to rush out in the space of just about 6 hours. So sometimes the Columbia River is flowing backwards at a few miles an hour, and sometimes it is flowing extra fast to the west. When Lewis and Clark visited the lower Columbia River, they recorded a river in its untamed state. But today, through the efforts of various U.S. government organizations, the river has become a much calmer and safer place. It's deeper, it's more predictable. However, in the winter time here, we can get swells of 20, even 30, sometimes 40 feet. The river current is still quite strong, and if ships lose power, disaster can strike. So I don't think this river will ever be tamed, but it's probably as close to that as we can get right now.
Thank you for watching this video. We hope that it was interesting to you, and if it sparked in any way thoughts you may have about stories from your family or friends or anyone, we'd love for you to make connection with us. Go to our website at tamingthemouth.com and click on the contact button, and we look forward to hearing from you.